You're bringing short videos. Cognitive control takes a snack break. Wow. Did you know that maybe platforms like TikTok are bad for your health? Yeah, you knew? Yeah, we all knew. I could just finish this segment here, but no, we're gonna go through this. Surprisingly enough. The vegan Gen Z stir may not be entirely a theatrical response to being asked whether anybody works here. A new neurological study found that preferred short videos significantly deactivated two regions of the brain associated with cognitive control. This is not great. This is the copy-paste, and it's not done properly. We're missing some spaces. I hope I don't choke too much. The findings suggest that watching an appealing stream of bite-sized clips shifts the brain into an immersive, low-effort state in which self-monitoring takes a breather. So yeah, people are getting lobotomized. Hey! I've been saying this for years, and they call me the crazy one. Who is crazy now? Well, I am truly a madman. Sam clearly insane, so who knows? In other words, all the regenerations are necessarily imagining defense of a media that assembled from videos shorter than the usual life of an open bag of Doritos. Well, that is not fair, okay? They have a lot of chemicals, so they actually can last for a long time. The research doesn't prove that short videos cause shrinking attention spans or the Gen Z stare. It does show that when young adults watch clips they liked, parts of the brain responsible for monitoring behavior and exerting control became less active. So it's like exercising, but negative. For advertisers, there's both an enticing opportunity and a flashing hazard sign. Short videos can slide past the brain's usual gatekeepers, producing unusual frictionless engagement. Unfortunately, frictionless is also how the industry describes a water slide before somebody hits the concrete. Just don't hit the concrete, it's that easy. Say it that way, they will never sue you. Isn't that good? A study publishing Neuroimage examined 56 healthy young adults with an average age of 23.3. Researchers from Zhejiang University used functional magnetic resonance, that was actually the words, imaging and magnetic resonance spectroscopy to measure brain activity and concentrations of glutamate and gamma aminobutyric acid, or GABA. GABA. The GABA cool! Participants watched two 6-minute blocks of short videos covering people, pets, games, and nature. They could skip any clip by pressing a button. Videos watched to completion were classified as liked, while those abandoned before the halfway point were classified as disliked. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex showed significant deactivation when participants watched preferred videos to completion. Those regions help people monitor conflicts, weigh effort, and insert top-down control. Dislike clips reduce different response. Activity in the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex returned roughly to baseline, suggesting that an unwanted video reawakened the machinery needed to make a decision. Apparently, nothing restores higher brain functionality like bad content. Don't think this is necessarily accurate. This is somewhat relates to something I've been thinking about recently, something that's pretty obvious to me at least. You know how there's a push for, yeah, this is things that you like, so of course you might enjoy these people that also like this. Why not go to these tags that you enjoy? We say this on social media, but I think that's actually the wrong approach. It's much more important to band together with things you actually dislike. Do I have anything in common with my friends? Yes, I do. But the best thing we have in common? The things we hate together. That sounds a bit odd, but I think it's more important to actually block things that you don't want to see than watch things you actually enjoy. Because normally you would have a neutral opinion of most things, especially things you don't know about. So, if you get random posts, yeah, between neutral and positive normally. But the stark difference is that when you go into the negative, if something you don't like, it's a sharp change. It's not undulating in the positive, between the positive and neutral, somewhat somehow. It's a visceral reaction. And that's probably an evolutionary advantage. Visceral reaction to dangerous animals, visceral reactions to something that probably looks very hazardous and whatnot. That just makes sense to me. Might be correct, might not be correct. But I do think that these social media sites, which kind of a different tangent, are making a great mistake. Well, they're not making a great mistake. They would be making a great mistake if they actually cared about normal users. I do think they do. I think, for example, Twitch, right? You have tags on Twitch, but you don't have a blacklist for tags. Normally, you can have a blacklist if you download an extension. But the thing is, I don't care about most things, but the things I don't like, I don't want to see them. I guess I didn't complain enough today about social media, so maybe this is my outlet for this. The participants gave an average of about 57% of the videos. That figure should conform many buyers who suspect that consumers can detect the lousy creative execution before the brand logo finishes materializing. Well, I don't know. Depends on the videos, right? Depends on if there's just a bunch of ad content. Did they mention it? If they did, I completely skipped that information. The researchers didn't interpret the deactivation as evidence that viewers temporarily became cognitively impaired. And this is more likely reflected adaptive downregulation during a passive activity requiring little conflict resolution. Isn't that also kind of negative? Well, it depends, right? You don't need to be insanely engaged when you're watching TV, for example. But you would expect to be somewhat engaged if you're watching videos on the internet. I want to be engaged, but I'm also kinda older, so might not be a good example for this. Is this just a generational difference? I don't know. Not smart enough to know. And the station matters. The study didn't find the TikTok, Reels, or Shorts to embrace the acoustic words. Yet. There's still time, I bet. I found that enjoyable short videos can encourage automatic processing, absorb attention, and reduce self-monitoring. Oh, okay. I see the problem then. You're kind of teaching the brain here that positive videos are a positive endeavor. Is that bad? Not necessarily. But if it comes a time, and I don't think it's really unlikely in modern society, where you're trying to get, for example on YouTube, video tutorials for anything. For cooking, for example, I think they're somewhat popular. Your brain is trained to not pay enough attention to it, to not actually retain the information. So that's actually the problem here, right? So they kind of detected the problem, but they're not saying it's a big problem. Sure, it's not a brain problem, but it's a behavior problem. Trained behavior on that. Can probably be fixed, but sure. It sounds terrific if the campaign objective is completion rate. It sounds reassuring if the advertiser expects viewers to compare prices, absorb a complicated product benefit, or remember which of 9 nearly identical meal delivery services just interrupted the dancing corgi. Well, but the last one doesn't really care, right? You don't care about 9 nearly identical meal delivery services. You just want to see the dancing corgi. The brain may be engaged with the experience without scrutinizing the advertiser's message. And complete view can therefore mean captivated, but it can also mean presently anesthetized while a logo passed down the room. Passed through the room. Researchers also found stronger functional connectivity between the two cognitive control regions during live videos. Even as activity in both declined, they interpreted the pattern as coordinated disengagement rather than increased cognitive effort. That's a more elegant scientific description of two senior executives turning off their cameras during the same meeting. They might be trying to play something else here. I don't think it's the case. But it's in good comparison to me at least. Resting levels of glutamate in the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex were associated with the strength of the response. Participants with higher glutamate concentrations showed less suppression of the cognitive control regions. The relationship was correlational. The study doesn't establish that glutamate protects viewers from becoming hypnotized by a woman restocking her refrigerator with 46 color-coordinated beverages. That might be oddly pleasing, right? If it has a color scale. It suggests that neurochemical differences may help explain why some people remain more cognitively engaged than others while watching the same kind of content. Sure, but I guess it wouldn't, right? I was wondering, is there an effect on these chemicals if you keep consuming this type of content? We just don't know. We just don't know. I guess it's a possibility. But we need more research for sure. The researchers didn't systematically measure compulsive short video use. They also didn't study children, older adults, or a gender-balanced sample. Like was inferred from whether participants finished a clip, which leaves open the possibility that someone watched because of curiosity, confusion, or the ancient human refusal to abandon a disaster halfway through. That's not that uncommon. I'm gonna be honest, I think it would be very interesting to see this on children, and see if something negative happens in the brains. I think it's quite likely. And also older adults, despite what you might believe. I know, we always laugh at these zoomers. Ah, the zoomers, they're addicted to them tiki-takis. They don't know anything, they cannot pay attention, all that. Older adults worry me a little bit too much too. It's not that uncommon for me to see older people also being addicted to both the phone and short-form videos. That's not ideal. That's not ideal. I don't think they actually recognize they're addicted. May not be an actual addiction, but they're there all the time. I do wonder if that's also gonna cause some sort of brain disaster for them. Most importantly, the study examining immediate brain response, it didn't determine whether repeated exposure causes lasting changes in attention, self-control, or cognitive function, and if it's much less entertaining string. That's funny. That's funny. Zuckerberg BTFO'd. Defendants arrived as Meta Platforms faces a federal trial in Oakland over allegations that it deliberately designed Facebook and Instagram to keep children hooked. The sign is probably correct. Did they succeed with that? I'm not sure. Now with children at least. A bipartisan coalition of 29 states alleges that Meta used features such as infinite scroll, notifications, and algorithmic recommendations to encourage compulsive use. I don't think that's necessary to encourage compulsive use. But yes. Hey, do you remember Pages? No, everything's just infinite scroll now. Is that even good? I don't think so. The states also accused the company of misleading the public about youth safety and illegal collecting data from children under 13, which completely different issue, but we all know what's happening. Meta denies the allegations and says it has invested heavily in protections for younger users. Yes, you're also loving all of these new laws for self-IDs. The trial is expected to last several weeks, with Mark Zuckerberg and Instagram chief Adam Mosseri among the executives suspected to testify. The court case and the neurological study addresses different questions. The researchers didn't test Meta's products or conclude that the short video platforms are addictive. You don't need an actual scientific test for this, right? You only need to see that people are truly addicted to them. I think that's fair. Maybe they need the actual research for the case, but I wouldn't think so. Still, evidence that preferred clips suppress cognitive control activity when the settler arrived at the courthouse wearing a Meta employee badge. The states are asking for financial penalties and design changes that could include eliminating infinite scroll and imposing stronger age restrictions. Meta has said potential damages could reach 1.4 trillion USD. So the states haven't publicly specified an amount. That's a huge amount of money. Tackling down the national debt? Unlikely. I kinda wish it did. For media buyers, the report strengthens the case that short video is neurologically distinctive. Terminal television chopped into vertical rectangles and fed espresso. Its ability to reduce cognitive effort can make short video extraordinarily efficient at holding attention. We also make interruption, repetition, and algorithmic personalization more powerful than traditional exposure metrics suggest. Advertisers will have to decide whether they are earning orientation or exploiting a design system built to prevent attention from escaping. Both? Both are kind of the same. But the advertisers are able, so they don't really care. Regulators, parents, and courts are showing increasing interest in that distinction. The thing is just the immoral distinction, not anything else. The industry has spent years trying to eliminate every obstacle between content, advertising, and the next impression. It may have succeeded so thoroughly that the human capacity to say enough became the obstacle. As a professional engineering, it's also the sort of achievement that eventually requires lawyers. Kinda hate that everything has to be just some sort of legal battle. I understand why. I don't think it's necessarily wrong, but here it seems like you have both sides of the wrong coin fighting together. Nobody is really for things becoming better. They're just here to get their part and push their agenda, which also drives me absolutely bonkers. Then again, if I can say anything to anybody, is to please don't use these short video platforms. It's not worth it. It's not even good. And despite they're not having any kind of adverse effects in this investigation, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Always be careful with the short form videos. They're clearly addicting, after all.